Hello everyone and welcome to another high-elo game of Age of Empires. Today we find ourselves reading 1,000 Tales on Arabia as we anticipate a clash between our blue Cuman player deaKer and our red Pole Carbo. Now, as the players explore their immediate surroundings, herd their herdables, and try to go up to Feudal as fast as possible, let's take a look at the Civ matchup we'll be watching today. Cumans, in my opinion, one of the hardest civs in the game to rush. Now, why do I say that? Because their archery ranges are cheaper, their stables are cheaper, their palisade walls are stronger, and their cavalry units get progressively faster as the game goes by. Now, in addition to all that, during Feudal Age, they do have two very cool bonuses. The first allows them to build a second town center, and the second allows them to build a siege workshop and rams. So good luck trying to bust your way into that base in Feudal Age. Their unique unit is the kipchak, a fast-firing cavalry archer with multiple arrows fired at once, but remember, only the first one does full damage. I think the regular kipchak in Castle Age fires 3 arrows, and the elite fires 4, and all the additional arrows do 3 damage. So yesterday, I think the video was a Portuguese game where the additional bullets from the organ gun do 2 damage. The kipchaks, their additional arrows deal 3 damage. So overall, a very versatile civilization that can do a number of things. You can boom in Feudal, you can ward off tower rushes, you can outmaneuver your opponents with faster cavalry and kipchaks, and overall, if you're not careful and you're playing a human opponent, be prepared for any knockout punch at any moment of the game. Now, speaking of knockout punches, we have the Poles, a civilization that I think is pretty quirky. Economically speaking, their stone miners generate gold as well. Now, in the latest patch that came out a couple of days ago, the amount of gold was actually nerfed. I think it went from 50% to 33%. So they still do generate gold, but a little bit less than they used to. Their villagers regenerate health as the game progresses if they're injured, and they have a cool structure instead of a mill. It's called the folwark, which the difference is when you build farms around a folwark, you automatically get 10% of the value of the farm, and the folwark actually counts like a house and gives you population space. Now, military-wise, excuse me, why did I say the Poles pack a punch? Their scout cavalry line does have a small attack bonus against archers, and in Imperial Age, you can actually upgrade them to provide trample damage, but by far, the greatest advanced technology bonus, whatever you want to call it, upgrade, is the Schlachter privileges, which makes their knights cost 60% less gold. Now, that also applies to cavaliers, but they don't have paladins, so use this with a grain of salt and use it with caution. Now, not to be outdone by the fast, hard-hitting Cuman kipchak, the unique unit of the Poles is the Obuch, which is a infantry unit that actually reduces enemy damage. So if we get to see one today, I will point it out. You'll see that the unit that it attacks, let's say it has a armor of 2+2, it'll go to 2+1, 2, 2-1, 2-2, etc. as the game progresses. So very excited to cast this game just because, like I said, these are two civilizations that at some point can pack a punch. We'll see if Carbo tries to do any kind of rush on deaKer, and whether or not deaKer defends or whether deaKer tries to do a rush with the Feudal Age siege onto Carbo. Who knows what we're going to see, and excited to see. Let's take a look at their actual bases. My God, is Carbo's base open. Look at this on your map. Do you see a single wood line, except for the ones on the right here, that is even remotely close? Okay, so here's the folwark, and look at that area. So you see how it creates a red area. Any farms plop down here auto-generate 10% of their food. And of course, if you've watched my streams, you know these yellow lemon bushes are my favorite, just because look at these cute little blue butterflies that are flying around them. Sorry, I'm a sucker for this game, this graphics, etc. deaKer, on the other hand, is in a very similar position. I mean, look how open these two bases are. Yeah, so the resources on this map by these two players must have been set to low, just by virtue of the fact of, look at the distances between. This gold is incredibly exposed. Where is Carbo's stone? Oh, Lord, very forward. So he's going to have to secure that stone. Otherwise, he'll have to go to the back of his base for gold. His second stone pile is way out here, completely undefended, or very hard to defend. As I was rambling on, deaKer has gone up to Feudal. I think his position is a little bit better. I mean, look at his resources. They're safe. They're tucked away in the back. A quick wall off here. A quick wall off here. Maybe a few houses along this edge here. And those resources are very much secure. So, situational advantage goes to deaKer. Now, one thing I did want to say that I forgot to point out is this player, if you take a look at, I guess, the top or the bottom right of your screen, I don't know if the capital K is stylistic. You know, back in the 90s when we were playing, we would use numbers and letters and all these kinds of underscores and stars and all kinds of weird alphanumeric things to create our names, our monikers. I don't know if the K is stylistic or if this player's name is deaKer. Now, if deaKer or deaKer is watching this, or anyone is watching this who actually knows this player's name, please let me know in the comments. I absolutely hate calling players by the wrong name just because I hate to be called by the wrong name. So I try to, you know, keep that in mind and say the right name when possible. So if you do know, leave me a message or rather a comment below. And that way I can actually start commenting, because deaKer does play a lot of games. And I think I've casted his games before, and I plan on continuing to cast his games in the future. And if that's the case, I do want to make sure that I have the right name going forward. That being said, let's get into the game. We've got 2 scout cavalry with a 3rd reinforcement on the way, poking inside. What has deaKer seen? Okay, so he's seen basically the entirety of Carbo's base. I mean, look at this. He's seen Never Eat Shredded Wheats. He's seen the north, the east, the south, the west. On the other hand, what has Carbo seen of deaKer's base? Pretty much the same thing. I mean, he can fill out. Sorry, I'm a little tongue-tied. He can fill out in his mind what is in this black space here very easily. So both players have seen pretty much the entirety of their opponent's base. A 4th scout cavalry making his way down here. Wow, Carbo is undertaking a pretty significant construction project here, pulling 2 villagers and a 3rd here. Oh, did she get locked out of... She got locked out of her apartment, needs the key, breaks down the door, and then gets back in. But yeah, look at this. I'm going to zoom out. Look at this chunk of the map that deaKer has, or rather Carbo has taken for himself. And now he has to wall this. I mean, in theory, this is a fantastic wall off, right? You get a big chunk of the map, you have room to expand. But really, if deaKer attacks this position in the next 3, 4, 5 minutes, once these armies and these villagers leave, what can Carbo really do? I mean, by the time a villager gets all the way, where's the closest villagers here, seeding a farm, by the time this guy gets all the way here, you best believe deaKer is going to be inside Carbo's base. deaKer, on the other hand, okay, staggering a few buildings, creating a natural barrier at the front, but doesn't look like he's very interested in securing the western portion, the northern portion, or the eastern portion of his base. Let's see if that inures to his benefit or not, whether or not, you know, he benefits, etc. We'll see how much pressure Carbo tries to apply. For now, 4 scout cavalry and a spearman are making their way. There is one more spearman somewhere on the map here. Okay, so Carbo knows this is a weak spot. Immediately double walls. So fantastic move here by Carbo. I think this is exactly what he needed to do. I would even, you know, being a paranoid player myself, I would even put a few houses here. Because, you know, why the hell not? You know you're not going to expand to this part of the map anytime soon. As I'm rambling on about palisades and houses, we have 1 house going down. 5 scout cavalry and 2 archers are here. I like this composition better than spearmen, just because the archers can shoo away villagers while the scout cavalry take on the houses, structures, and units. But Carbo's inside deaKer's base. Let's see what he can get done here. We have 2 spearmen. They're going to annoy the lemon bush gatherers, foragers. And here we go. Unfortunately, all of this action is taking place behind a mill, so we have to see outlines instead of soldiers and use our imaginations. 2 is always better than 1 in this game, although... You know what's better than 2? A town center firing arrows down on your opponent's head. Okay, so Carbo not really finding any kind of damage here. These 4 scouts have 1 kill among them. But honestly, so does this army. Twice the size, now going up to 4 archers. Carbo has to be careful here. This is what I was talking about. Cumans, good luck rushing them in Feudal in the hands of a player that has great micro, but also, my god, can they put on the Feudal pressure here. Okay, Bloodline's going down for Carbo, so his cavalry are going to be tougher as the game progresses. Oh, a blunder here by Carbo leaves his gate open. That being said, I mean, these units are now trapped. This army is now trapped inside Carbo's base. So they need to get a lot of damage done, which they are. 4 extra kills. Oh, they're going to capture these. They're going to get these, at least 2 of these villagers, right? Okay, a third one manages to escape. So 7 kills, but you're fighting under a town center. So okay, yeah. deaKer wisely retreats. He's got a few more units circling the perimeter. Our Cuman player wants this game over with yesterday. He is putting on a significant amount of pressure. I see blue dots streaming across the mini-map, left, right, and center. Another full work was going down until this army came and interrupted his plans. I don't know where she's going. She thinks she's going to join the battle here, but fantastic move here by Carbo. He's going to wipe out all these archers. Yeah, you want to deal with archers, you build yourself some scout cavalry with 65 HP thanks to Bloodline and a +1 defensive upgrade. So what a fantastic hold here by Carbo, although he does take damage. Let's see kill count for now. Carbo has killed 13 units of deaKer. deaKer has killed 15 units of Carbo. So overall, I wouldn't really give an advantage to either player. I mean, 2 killed at the 20-minute mark of the game is not exactly game-ending damage. Okay, Carbo sees a bunch of villagers heading out. Not a lot. Only 3. A 4th one coming. Wisely decides to go for the spearman and kills the spearman first. Fantastic play here by both players. I'm really enjoying this game so far. I mean, we're only 20 minutes in. And Age of Empires really is a game where you have to kind of... It's a game where I don't think you need patience, just because I don't think it's that slow of a game, but it's the first 10 minutes really do dictate. Okay, let's say first 10 to 15 minutes really dictates the pace. It tells players like deaKer, can I afford to send 4 villagers instead of mining gold, instead of chopping trees or gathering food, can I send 4 villagers and the idle time involved with that to build a tower to harass a tree line that's empty. Okay, so not the best tower placement in the world for now, but my god, he's going south again. Is there going to be a second tower? He's got 8 on stone, so he might just be looking to end this in Feudal here. I mean, this is a nice defensive little army. That's a good quantity of archers. He's got to be careful. It's pretty weak because there's so many archers. It is kind of weak to scout cavalry. A second tower going down. Okay, so Carbo sees this, and deaKer has to be careful here. This is a little nook that he's inserted himself into that could be potentially disastrous for him if Carbo comes. Carbo is going up to 9 scout cavalry, so that very much could destroy this entire army in a matter of seconds. So as I was saying, Age of Empires, the first 10-15 minutes, in my opinion, is where you set up the theme, the tone of the game that you want to play. Are you going to play offensive, defensive? Obviously, deaKer, we know which option he's chosen. Although, honestly, the tower placement here is not the best. He's building palisades. As I said, Cumans get stronger palisades. Look at them, 333 to Carbo's 250. So these are pretty tanky palisades. And now he's in the Carbo's base again. This is what I was talking about. I mean, it's good to carve out a giant chunk of the map for yourself, but you have to be ready to defend that. Was it really worth it taking all those villagers, all that idle time to build those palisades, only to have them demolished? I don't know. I leave it up to you. I guess it depends on the game, on the player, etc. But here comes deaKer, rather Carbo, with 10 scout cavalry. This is 500 HP of archer killing machines. You know, you've got 2 spearmen here that you might get, if you're lucky, 2 or 3 of those scout cavalry. Another tower going down. I mean, I like the group of 4 where 1 villager builds a perimeter and then starts helping out, but this is a lot of idle time for these villagers. They could be gathering resources, etc. In the meantime, Carbo, by virtue of the fact that he has not been aggressive on the map, has been able to collect the resources to go up to Castle, but so has our Cuman player, who has used his Cuman bonus to build an extra town center during Feudal Age. So take a look at the villager count. Our Cuman player is going up to 52, has hit Castle 35 seconds ahead of our red Pole player. I never know whether they're called a Pole or Polish. I feel like Polish is not very accurate. In every event, whatever comes out of my mouth is what they're going to be called. But my God, look at this pressure here by Carbo. So yeah, so I look at the villager count. deaKer is 10 villagers ahead by virtue of having that second town center. Honestly, I'm very impressed with deaKer's play right now, because usually when you go Feudal Age second town center, it takes a lot of time to build these town centers in Feudal Age. So the villagers you use to build them are not gathering resources. Plus, he has these 4 villagers here building castles for the last 7 or 8 minutes. So he's had a lot of time with these villagers where they're not actually mining anything, and yet he still managed to get to Castle ahead of Carbo. So congrats to deaKer on a fantastic economic macro play here. Definitely a game to study and to learn. Interesting. A back castle. So this is his solution to not walling off the western portion of his base. Castles and camels. 2 camels for now, no upgrades on them. And let's take a look at the situation in Carbo's base. So he still has the 2 towers, 3rd tower here, just being annoying, tickling. I wonder if these towers are more for sight than they are. I mean, look at the vision that deaKer has of Carbo's base. All these highlighted, or I guess revealed parts are what he sees. So if Carbo even tries to move out of his base, unless he does it from these western parts, deaKer will see it immediately and will be able to react. And now that the castle's up, now that we're in Castle Age, these scout cavalry, rather light cavalry, now that they've been upgraded, are going to be pretty useless. We'll see if Carbo decides to go winged hussars. Remember that Poles and I think Lithuanians are the only 2 civilizations that instead of the hussar upgrade, they get a winged hussar, which is a bit tankier, I think, and has an additional bonus, I want to say, against gunpowder units. Not that I'm expecting gunpowder out of our Cuman player, but I always love to see them just because of how freaking cool they look. If you haven't noticed by listening to my casts, then I'm going to say it for an umpteenth time that I love the graphics of this game. I just think it's so cool. As a history nerd, I just love seeing all this stuff. I mean, I grew up watching old movies like Lawrence of Arabia and any kind of action. Any Mel Gibson movie before he lost his mind were pretty cool. So yeah, so I'm a big nerd when it comes to that. So I love to see these graphics. But good for Carbo. Even though he arrived up to Castle a little bit later than deaKer, he's completely stalled all of deaKer's aggression here. And his army count, by virtue of the fact that he could focus more on that, now almost is exactly 3 times the size of deaKer's army. So what are we looking at? We've got 11 knights and 7 light cav against, oh yes, 5 kipchaks and 3 camels. So military advantage here to our red Pole, who is now systematically destroying these towers one by one. Apologies for my poor scrolling. Let's see if these 2 knights decide to attack this Okay, they'll have to break through some palisades, but I don't think they care too much. I mean, look at the damage. Literally 1 damage from the tower to the knight. Okay, and now this tower is going to fall, and we'll see what Carbo decides. In the meantime, he's being annoying himself. I like this. What he's essentially doing is distracting deaKer, keeping deaKer inside his base with a very minimal force here. I mean, this is a half-assed mini army of half-dead cavalry units. We've got 3 knights who are barely alive and 2 light cav who are also barely alive. But with all of those, do you see a single blue dot on the map except for this camel that's not doing anything? Look at the camel. He does not want to have this guy on top of him. He is shaking his head. Yeah, so deaKer's aggression has been completely stalled here by our red Pole. Both players banking good amount of resources. The score says that Carbo is ahead by almost 1,000 points. I'm not sure I really agree with that. I mean, his military is stronger. Sure, he's killed a bunch of structures, including this tower here, and he's going to get 2 more towers. But, you know, I think both players are pretty similarly situated. Oh, man, here we go. Kipchaks defending the construction of this castle. These are not 4 villagers. This is 15. They are going to build this castle lightning fast. And let's see, he notices it right away. Is he going to try to charge into these villagers? Fantastic move here by deaKer. First of all, I think he saw the Polish knights. Then he moved his Kipchaks north so that our red Polish player wouldn't see them. And when the juicy target of 15 villagers presented itself, I mean, Carbo just did what Age of Empires pros do, which is attack. And then the Kipchaks come, and together with the castle just decimate the HP of these knights. I mean, I don't know how many kills they got. Let's see. Only 1 kill. But it doesn't matter. They're targets. This is the killer. Look at this. 6 kills on this castle so far. Okay, this... Man, it's taking a long time for this one light cav to get this castle. Okay, Carbo puts down his own opposition castle here. Far enough that they're not really in each other's faces for now. So both players kind of tentative. I would say this is a middle-of-the-road castle. My favorite analogy is betting 6 and 8 on craps. You know, it pays less, but it's the safer bet. Not super aggressive, not super defensive. This one is just a purely defensive castle. I mean, he didn't even pull that many villagers to construct it. There's 8 plus 1 is 9. Yes, I know how to do math. And yeah, so now the players have disengaged. Both players going up to Imperial. So this is fantastic. This is what you like to see as a caster. They've entered the stage where they're now going to construct their structures. And once these structures are done, in the next couple of minutes, we're going to see, I'm hoping, a bunch of huge battles. Let's take a look at the upgrades. So our Polish player, no big surprise, is going cavalry upgrades. He's getting husbandry, iron casting. So his knights are going to be faster. They're going to hit harder. On the other hand, our Cuman is getting the pike upgrade, infantry upgrades, ballistics, squire, forging. So he's going kipchak, pikeman. And I'm hoping, I mean, he doesn't have the gold yet for the halberdier upgrade, but I'm sure eventually we'll see those too, just by virtue of the fact of all these upgrades that he's getting. Okay, castle and a camel bite the dust. And man, is he being annoying Carbo with these little groups of cavalry. Oh no, gets himself into a forest here of villagers. Okay, I mean, deaKer responds well here. Let your town center get rid of these light cav. You don't really have to abandon ship right away. And yeah, they got a bunch of kills, but it could have been worse here for deaKer, who's now behind on villagers. Okay, getting chemistry, so these kipchaks are going to attack even harder. Let's see if he upgrades them to elites. He runs face first into a castle, which he did not know was there. Immediately pulls them away. How fast do these guys run? 1.62. My god, are they fast. This is like the epitome, the quintessential sniping unit, isn't it? The power of a Chukanu, but the speed of a... I don't know what. A step lancer. Fantastic. So both players sitting on 3 town centers. Castle advantage going to our Cuman, who has 1 extra castle. Yeah, this wall is not going up. That was a very optimistic wall. And now for a 3rd time, deaKer is inside Carbo's base. A very optimistic, very lonely tower here, trying to zone out any aggression. But here comes... Oh, yes. We are going to see winged hussars. Oh, I love them. They're just such a pretty unit. Let's see. Let's follow along on this journey so that we can see them transform in real time. Look at that. Look how beautiful they are. I remember when I was on my hiatus from Age of Empires, you know, going to school and just university and just taking a break from it overall after the early 2000s. I was always reading history books and etc. And at some point I went down a rabbit hole. A 2nd castle went up for our Polish player. Okay, so he is anticipating a lot of aggression here, because I don't see massive Obuch production. I only see 3 on the production tab. So he must anticipate really a massive push out by deaKer. So as I was saying, I went down a rabbit hole of all things about the Battle of Vienna. Now, the Battle of Vienna, the largest cavalry charge in the history of mankind, I think something like 18,000 cavalry units charged, and not all of them were winged hussars, but a huge chunk of them were these guys with their very intimidating feathers, and I don't say that sarcastically. They were very intimidating. But the interesting thing about the winged hussars is, not to knock the developers, but they were a heavy cavalry unit. They were not a light cav. They were not along the lines of a scout cav, a light cav, a hussar. These guys were heavy, heavy damage units. But the cool thing about them is the mind games. Oh no, catches 2 trebs out. That treb is a goner. He's going to sacrifice some HP to get it. Yeah, good luck attacking that castle. Come on, notice. Okay, he notices, but way too late. Look at this. What is this? 6, 7, 8. I see a dead top knot here peeking out from the parapet of the castle. But the interesting thing about the winged hussars, to get back to my nerdy rabbit hole, the way they would charge is they would start in a very loose, wide formation. I don't know if this was to fool the enemy, and they would start attacking very slowly. And as they got closer and closer to the enemy lines, they would not only get much, much faster, but they would start closing ranks. So the enemy, who was, you know, arrayed in a very wide kind of stance to deal with a wide... Oh, nice catch here. Who was arrayed, like, set up in a wide position. All of a sudden, you have these, let's say, 300 winged hussars that were across, let's say, a kilometer, or not a kilometer, like 500 meters. All of a sudden, like a spearhead would just slam into your army and just cause so much chaos and so much damage. And then they would retreat. And like jousters, they would get fresh weapons, and then they would do the same thing again, over and over and over. They were a freaking hammer. It was such a cool unit. If you are a history buff or nerd, or you're interested in these kinds of things, I do recommend Google winged hussars. Don't trust Wikipedia. Try to find a bit of a better source. But yeah, it's interesting because, again, in real life, they were heavy cavalry that attacked in a very cool, interesting way. And they were part of the biggest cavalry charge, just like, you know, in World War II, we had the biggest tank battle, I think, in Kursk. The winged hussars were involved in the biggest cavalry charge of all time. Can you imagine? Just close your eyes and imagine 18,000 horses charging into you. Well, not you specifically, one person, but into an army. Imagine how cool that would look on the screen. This is what, 5 winged hussars on the screen? Multiply this by 3,000. And or 6,000 rather, and that's what you get. Anyway, enough nerding out. Carbo is under attack here. His anticipation of aggression was absolutely correct. deaKer strutting, peacocking with these halberdiers, enticing Carbo to try to come and attack. Okay, we have a good old-fashioned Trebor. I'm going to zoom out and move it a bit to the off-center so we can see both of these trebs. We're 48 minutes into the game. This is a super fun game so far. A lot of hard action, hard-hitting armies. Okay, this is the response of the halberdiers. We have elite skirmishers with ballistics on the way. Rather, it could actually be a response to the kipchaks. I shouldn't assume. Actually, these counter both pretty well. But yeah, he's got to be careful with these winged hussars. Oh, look how pretty that is. I mean, look at this. Okay, so he listened to me from the future and puts them in a very wide stance. And in they go. They're going to try to take out this treb. They close ranks, but man, deaKer's halberdiers just come in from the east. Shoot them. Oh my god, look at that. Look at that movement by Carbo. He tried to deaKer. Fantastic. What a fun game so far. Another defensive castle here. Let's take a look at the production facilities just to see how much longevity these armies have. 7 stables, 5 archery ranges for our Polish player. I think he might need a few more stables. He definitely needs more than 47 on food if he plans on massing winged hussars. On the other hand, our Cuman player, 6 barracks. Okay. 1 archery range. and 3 castles. Okay. So both players, I would say, sitting at roughly the similar production facilities. Villager counts are almost identical, 136 to 129. No major discrepancy at this, 50 minutes into the game. I think Carbo needs to bring some additional units here. I mean, this is a mistake by deaKer. Where are you going with these halberdiers? Now that he's pot committed, he has to engage. Oh my god, but numbers-wise, these hussars just smoke the halberdiers. As I was saying, Carbo would be wise to bring a bunch of these elite skirmishers with him every time he charges in, because, yeah, and this is a mistake here by Carbo. I mean, brilliant. First a mistake by deaKer, then a mistake by Carbo. Oh my god, 25 kipchaks. These obuchs are going to make quick work of these halbs, but they're going to get demolished by the kipchaks, who are still not elite. Okay, I mean, he's got the resources, I think, in terms of gold. Another trap does go down here. Carbo is being super annoying with these hussars, but unfortunately, imagine if instead of 7 stables, he had 13 or so, or 12. How much quicker he could produce an army that could re-swarm these kipchaks, who are now going to get this other trebuchet. Another castle here by deaKer, who is stealing. I said it in the beginning, this is going to be a pain in the ass stone pile for Carbo to gain control of. I mean, look at how far it is away from his base. So deaKer comes to the same conclusion, decides to teef it with no fewer than 21 villagers. Oh god, you love to see it. But both players here don't really... I think they're suffering both from the same weakness, in that both of them are staying very close to their castles. deaKer is staying here. A red pole player is staying here. Neither of these players, with the exception of trebuchets, have any kind of units that can withstand any kind of consistent castle fire, right? These winged hussars, they have a 4 pierce armor, which is not great, especially not if he starts garrisoning these castles with villagers. But neither player here has an army that can really withstand castle fire for very long. Another castle going down, another castle going down. My god, or rather going up. This one just went down. Look at that giant pile of rubble and smoke and dust. Yeah, Carbo is getting a bit ahead of himself. I mean, he can't separate these hussars from these skirmishers, because on their own, both elements of this army are weak as shit. I mean, 14 elite skirmishers aren't going to do anything against anything, except, other trash units like halbs. And 13 winged hussars on their own with half the HP that they should have are not going to do anything. Although he does catch a monk, let's see. Remember, they still do get the bonus against monks. Not that 13 of them need a bonus, but look at that. Immediately loses 5. Okay, I don't know where this guy thinks he's going. Takes about, what? 28 times 3. What is that? 84 arrows to the face. I might make that my thumbnail. All 84 arrows just attacking that one poor, stupid hussar. But here we come. Here come the obuchs. They've got a 6 pierce armor, so they're going to finally... a unit that can withstand castle fire for much longer. And let's just watch. Carbo needs to come up with an answer to these kipchaks. I mean, he's taking the same fight over and over again. He's demolishing the melee armor of deaKer, but while he's doing that, these kipchaks, which are now elite finally, so now they're firing 4 arrows, while he's demolishing... Oh, I wanted to, the armies just move so fast. I wanted to hit one that an obuch hit to show you the reduction in armor. But my mouse skills are not good enough. Every time I click a unit, it dies within 5 milliseconds. But as I was saying, Carbo has an army that can take care of melee, but he's got no answer to these kipchaks. I mean, he's finally down to 16, 13. Oh. Okay. And there we go. So let's take a look at what happened here. I mean, look at this. Look at this imagery of this giant just massacre. I'm going to rewind and see what forced deaKer to GG here. Okay. So in your mind, as I'm rewinding, play the Ace Ventura clip when he goes and does the reverse football play Put me in, coach. Okay, so what do we have here? We've got 27 halbs, 24 kipchaks, 11 winged hussars, 19 obuchs, 12 elite skirmishers, and then a bunch of reinforcements from both players. A halb or two, an elite skirmisher, a winged hussar coming in. I mean, this is interesting. They're cutting wood here with no lumber mill. Okay, whatever. All right, so let's see what happens. I'm gonna put it in slow-mo. So this castle is slowly being destroyed by these trebs, which, by the way, got this castle, I think I mentioned a while ago. Halberdiers retreat wisely so that the castle and the kipchaks can fire as much as possible on all the units. Okay, obuchs are engaging the halbs. Winged hussars are retreating wisely because these halbs are just going to ruin them. My god, the obuch is such a strong unit. Attacks on a 14-6 pierce armor, 95 HP. Wow, that's a lot for an infantry. Okay, all the halbs are gone. And the sky is gray. Okay, the kipchaks are going to kill these two. Now Carbo doesn't know what to do. He's got this army here. Is he trying to go after villagers? Is he trying to go after military? Decides to split up a chunk of his army, gets the villagers. And now what do we have left? Sorry, I'm going to pause it again. So now we have 25 kipchaks. 3 halberdiers. I see one on here. I don't know where the other 2 are. Oh, here they are. Okay, you're late to the party. This is like the guy in the group project that does jack shit. And this is the guy in the group project that does like photocopies 1 page and then says I contributed. This halberdier is the one that does all the work. And opposing this little force, we've got 11 obuchs, 8 winged hussars, and 11 elite skirmishers coming. I wonder... Anyway, let's take a look at the fight. Arrows going down, killing everything. But there's the inherent weakness of just an archer / ranged unit army, right? When a melee unit engages it, this kipchak attacks on an 8, and it's an elite. Remember, so the 8 is for the first arrow, and then the others attack on a 3. But the second a melee armor engages a melee unit engages a ranged unit, it's game over for the ranged unit. Plus now there's a whole bunch of, oh my god, a whole bunch of reinforcements streaming in here. deaKer is only producing halberdiers. And the reason he's only producing halberdiers is because he's got almost no lumber. He's got 45 on lumber, which I think he just shifted. I think I saw that on Food a little while ago. He does not have the wood here to produce ranged units, so he has to produce halbs, 10 at a time. But yeah, these winged hussars just engaged. They collapsed the entire right flank, or rather the left flank of deaKer's army, because I think we're looking at it from deaKer's perspective. And now what does he have here? 9, 10 kipchaks that fire on an 8 against this giant red chunk, this giant red ball. What do we have here? More stables going down. Okay, so he listened to me. He said 7 stables is obviously not enough. He's got 60 on food now, does Carbo, which is exactly what you want. He's got 1 knight. I don't know where that knight is, or why there is 1 knight at the 58-minute mark of the game. But our blue Cuman player was just not producing anything at the, you know, he had a good amount of wood, but I wonder if it's just a matter of production facilities. Sorry to anyone on a small screen, but I am going to zoom out. So he loses the center of his base, and now the entire chunk that I'm highlighting is exposed. But what exactly is in here? 5 of the barracks. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5th one somewhere. Here we go. There, one of the OG barracks that he built to wall off his base. So let's say 4 barracks, because that one's not going to get attacked. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Once those barracks fall, does he have barracks anywhere else that can take up the slack in production? No, he does not. So Carbo, with his 673 wood, not only does he need to produce ranged units and halberdiers, both of which are wood intensive, he now has to produce barracks. And remember, the Cumans only get a discount on archery ranges and stables. So these barracks are full price. They're not BOGO. They're not buy one, get one free. So I think he wisely realized that he just would not have the time, number one, or the resources to produce any kind of defensive resistance to this massive army that's now, look at this, just streaming across the map. We have 10 obuchs, 3 winged hussars, and 2 elite skirmishers making their way, plus 7 more winged hussars in production. And you best believe with these 5 additional stables, that Carbo was going to insert himself and start raiding, because why the hell not? That would be the perfect chef's kiss, cherry on the sundae to this strategy. Go up the guts with your main force, and then use these 5 stables to send 5 at a time, 10 at a time, 8 at a time, whatever it is, to just gut the economy. And look at the economy of deaKer. He's sitting at 102 villagers to 138 of Carbo. So I think deaKer saw the writing on the wall. He realized that his production structures were in jeopardy any second now. And he wisely decides to live to fight another day, and GG's. And overall, wow, what a fun, fast game. Let's take a look at the stats. 190 winged hussars. God, they're such a beautiful unit. Sorry, I'm going to nerd out one last time. I just like these units so much. They're so pretty. Again, kudos, hat tip to the developer. Peak APM here, Carbo 175 10 minutes ago is amazing. Let's look at kill count. 300 killed for Carbo, 250 for deaKer. And again, I apologize, deaKer, if your name is deaKer, I don't know what it is. Please let me know, anyone, if I'm calling this player by the right name, because I would feel like absolute shit if I wasn't. What were you going to build with 62 stone and hammers in your hands? Okay. Overall, what a fun, fast-paced game. That one poor winged hussar that took 84 arrows to the face sacrificed himself for the greater Polish Commonwealth. And overall, what a great game. Hard-fought W for Carbo, and GG to both players. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips and make sure to subscribe and enable notifications so that you're notified of my latest uploads.